You know, I've never been able to do HvZ. Whenever there's a game up here, for some reason, I either A, don't know about it, or B, was just not invited. For whatever reason. And then, the one time I was in school and college, and they did HvZ, they didn't use blasters. Because, I was told specifically, they didn't want somebody shooting a dart with a thumbtack in it and hurting someone. So, this was literally around the time that video was blowing up on the internet, and I thank you profusely, whatever douche did that, because you ruined my chances of ever having any fun. That being said, I finally have a chance to play HvZ in Montana at WVZ. So, I need to come up with some kind of idea, some plans or whatever to actually do something dealing with zombies. Well, let's narrow this down. I'm fat. I know this is a shock to some of you. I didn't really think this through. Some of you have been trying to let me know in the comments section, for God knows how long, that I'm fat. Bless your souls, because I realize now that I am in fact obese, morbidly so. However, I'm going to take it on the chin, and I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to slay me some Zambos. You may be asking, how does a fat guy survive the zombie apocalypse? The answer, use a gun. But in the analog of not having actual firearms and not actually being able to do half the things that you'd actually do in a zombie apocalypse, like die, at least realistically, I'm going to have to come up with a blaster setup that will help me out immensely. And I think I've come up with what I believe to be the perfect HvZ setup that doesn't involve Rival. I know, it's Rival! Rival is like the best thing ever right now, and you're not entirely wrong. However, I don't know of a whole lot of people, besides Captain Xavier, that has the thousands of rounds you would probably need, and the complete ability to just lose most of those. Granted, I don't think a whole lot of people are going to be using orange high-impact rounds, HIRs, at the event, but he will. Of course, he's not going to be playing as a human, he's going to be an NPC. Which I probably should have gotten into. But I'm not that smart. And I've also never played HvZ before, so me being an NPC would be kind of weird. But I have a plan. So, after all this talking, what is my plan? Well, we're going to start with what is probably the most obvious thing. A Strife. Now, any Strife will do you here, but I happen to have access to what I dubbed the Ultima Strife. Now, the cool thing about the Ultima Strife is, at this event, the FPS cap is like 150, which is kind of cool. Which kind of sucks for the zombies, but it's kind of cool for me, because that means that I can use the Ultima Strife, which hits anywhere, usually with AccuFakes, around the high 140s, which is great. It'll skirt that line ever so gently. But of course, the Ultima Strife has a bunch of cool things built into it, like an ammo counter. Yeah, I'd never get bored of that. And this is a proper ammo counter, one that actually counts down and everything like that, so when you're holding it out, oh, it doesn't have a stock! Oh, what am I gonna do? You know. See, I don't want to have a big bulky stock and a big huge blaster and everything like that. I want to have a minimum amount of stuff, because of course, I could put an entire blaster on me for the space of one comfortable stock, and something like this doesn't need a stock, and I'm not going to be doing really many precision shots. I'm going to be shooting probably at around, well, the ultimate range this thing will do at. And this thing will punch basically that entire range and is semi-auto, and burst fire, and full auto. There we go. I don't know what happened there. There we go. This is it's an experimental setup. It should work perfectly fine, but if it perchance doesn't, well, having magazines is great and all, but what's the one thing that Walcom loves? Internal magazines. But I don't have any of that for this, but I do have something that's almost as good. Who saw this coming? Absolutely everyone, because this is the Zombie Slayer weapon of choice, the Dart Zone Magnum Super Drum. Because it's look, it's 40 darts in a oh god. Oh, I want reloading slots on this thing, like, really bad now. I just realized that. Maybe someday I could get reloading slots on it. But until then, we've got the Magnum Super Drum. This thing is, of course, a pistol. I say that very loosely, as if I have no idea what a pistol is. But yeah, it's a pistol that is relatively compact, except for the ludicrous drum on the end of this thing, which is, of course, completely removable if you've modded yours to do so, and believe me, I have. That's not going to be all that important for me, though. Of course, these drums are absolutely huge compared to just a couple of magazines, so the purpose of having this on me is, well, I can easily top this up, and of course it has slam fire, but most of the time you're probably just going to be using it the way it was intended, by just shooting zombies. So this will be perfect. I can load this up in between rounds, and if things get really hairy, I can, of course, just drop this and use the Strife. Or vice versa. If I run out of ammo for the Strife or have a jam, I can instantly switch to this, and I don't really have to worry all that much, because 40 darts is 40 darts, and of course I can just top this thing up as I go, and everybody is happy. So that's like the best of both worlds. I don't really have to worry so much about my magazines, although I will have them. I don't have to worry about carrying a primary and a secondary that both use magazines, making them completely worthless, and I'm probably never going to use them. I have a very even distribution between this thing and that thing. I have a reason to use this, I have a reason to use the Strife, and they mesh together perfectly. Of course, this is apparently, it's just going to be stock, so its range is going to be around to 90 FPS, so probably a little bit shorter, way about let's say 2/3 the range of the Strife. But that's worth it, because I could angle shot if I need to, or I could just spam shots up close, and that should do me just fine. And if things get really hairy, of course, I can have a shot primed on this, and I could be using this in full auto, and everything would be cool. The main ability that I have for this is I'm just going to have it dangling off my gear. I have put on the 3D printed kind of thing that replaces the arm brace that this originally came with. This was sent to me by a fan a long time ago. I don't know your name. It was literally years ago. I do appreciate it. Have it on here. It just wasn't something I could do an entire video on. Now I have a chance to finally do a video on, and I have this thing, so I can just have that clipped to my gear and have it on my hip. So if I need to use it, it's really easy for me to just hip fire the thing, fire off a couple of shots, and let it go down. It does get in the way a little bit, but I'm a big guy. I'm always in the way, so I'm used to it, and it's not a big deal. But of course, not every single engagement is going to be something that you can use those blasters on. Sometimes you're going to want to blind fire around corners, or during the early days, you're probably just going to want to tag people just in case they happen to be zombies. In fact, the, patient zeros are usually blend in with the humans, and you won't know exactly who they are at first. That's if they're really good. If they're really bad, you'll know who they are immediately, so that could happen. And what is my chances of success at that point? Well, using flywheels or the super drum, it's possible, but of course I need something as a backup, a tertiary, something that I can depend on if things go south, and, oh god! And that, of course, is the Dart Zone Blitz fire? Hear me out with this one. I haven't modded this yet, but I know these things can take a pretty ridiculous Retaliator-sized spring upgrade, punching around the 130 FPS mark. But there's one reason, something that I completely overlooked when I took a look at this blaster 2 years ago, that is very, very, very important. When you pull the trigger, it does that satisfying click, but most importantly, it rotates the barrel. Now, why is that important, you may ask? Well, if you want to top up this blaster, it does have 2 slots right there, and you can kind of fit another dart in there. I could probably shave that if I wanted to, but of course, with most blasters, you're going to have to index that, so you're going to probably hold it like this and just shove darts into it, and you're good to go. Now, obviously, I don't have to do that with the Blitz fire. I can just pull a dart out, and I'm good to go. And that is unbelievably important. In fact, when I do the mod guide on this, you're going to see how just important that is. Normally, this thing does have like a little flip-up sight thing, but it actually cuts off your access to one of the barrels, kind of, so we're just going to go with this. Yeah. Dart Zone Blitzfire. Actually really freaking good. And that will be my pistol for the event. I will have some extra things, just in case things go way out of proportion, like I've got, like a light command and like 300 darts and chains for it and stuff like that, so I could probably use that for like suppressive fire and stuff like that. That will be useful, but other than that, yeah, that's my idea. I'm sure there's those of you that actually do HvZ that are going to be absolutely disregarding every single thing I said because I've never played it, or I might have a massive flaw in my argument somewhere, but I'm going to be a big pack mule with a lot of darts, but I still want to have the ability to kind of leg it if I have to. Hopefully not very far, but just enough to get back to cover or a teammate or something like that. And I've given myself the best blasters I could possibly use that for. I will probably bring a Nemesis and stuff like that, because honestly, who wouldn't at an event like this? But, I mean, I don't want to lose all that ammo. So let me know what you think about my HvZ idea setup down in the comments section below, and of course give me your feedback, because I still got a couple of days until I have to leave, so if somebody has a better idea, I'd love to hear it, but I've thought this through, and I think this is about as good as it could possibly get, at least in my opinion. I wish I had the build paradigm shift done. I would use the normal paradigm shift, but it kind of doesn't work all that well, because the cage is not optimal for rapid strikes, and I can't really put the dart guide in there because I have magazines feeding out of everywhere, so I'm going to have to fundamentally change the way that the rapid strike is going to feed into the flywheel cage for the build paradigm shift. I might have thought that through already, though. Anyway, I'm Walcom. Thank you very much for watching this video, and of course, I hope to see you in an entirely different one.
You gotta